Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, featuring today a 1 vs 1 on Beaux Lowlands. Yes, indeed, it's been some time since we've been on the Lowlands, but here we are for a Monday novice fight. Yes, indeed, Monday novice fight. Oh, it's been some time since we've had it, about 7 days, hasn't it? Yes, indeed. We shall be watching KptBalu fighting for the Americans, fighting for the 10th Armored Division, going up against Mrgroundelectro, fighting for the 111th Panzer Brigade, somewhere near Lorraine, or in the Lorraine-Alsace region. Also note, only one pioneer squad working, other one popping off here, but note, both engineers working here on KptBalu, but also note, barracks is pretty much in the middle of everything. There's no real sort of thing it can go and sort of, it doesn't really get any sort of full effectiveness. Again, most higher ranked players will tend to sort of place it either here or here, you know, at the sort of exit at the base where they want to go, so there's less time where the troops have to actually move. Plus, again, it also serves another vital purpose. It also, you know, creates a reinforcement point far away from the headquarters, which means, of course, you know, in case you get artillery, you have somewhere slightly safer to reinforce. First infantry out here for Mrgroundelectro, the Volksgrenadiere. For KptBalu, of course, it's the riflemen. No surprises there, ladies and gentlemen. If you were surprised, I'd have to assume you really haven't been playing much Company of Heroes. Volksgrenadier squad going here towards the victory point. Rather interesting. You wouldn't know. It's a bit rarer to see higher ranking players, of course, to go straight for the victory points, but I mean, some still do. It certainly creates a bit of a pressure on their opponent, of course, in the longer run. Small engagement here. The riflemen are not closing in with the Volksgrenadiers. That is usually the better idea. Already taking a bit of damage. In fact, they're moving away from the Volksgrenadiers. Volksgrenadiers, in fact, hunting down the riflemen. Point secured here. Point secured there. Point secured everywhere. No, not quite. But again, going for the victory point. Mrgroundelectro is not to be stopped or halted in his quest towards victory points, and a victory point based victory. But so far rather heavy focusing on the west, not so much from the Wehrmacht. He's a bit, you know, here, there, everywhere. Let's go shoot some Yankees. Pioneers here though need to retreat. They're definitely arrived at the wrong time to the wrong party, and they definitely were not invited. Strategic point here secured. Volksgrenadiers pushing on again, though. You usually want, as the Wehrmacht, you know, to sort of have them work towards each other so they can support each other, provide firepower for each other, and generally be stronger, because that's rather where the Wehrmacht, Volksgrenadiers actually sort of do better. That is when they are in numbers. But that's why I'm sort of, you do best when they can sort of hit the flank where things are not quite as protected. And now he's actually spraying that again. Careful. Vorsicht. More on the way from the Wehrmacht quarters. Floating a bit of resources here. KptBalu, less good. Volksgrenadiers retreating. Be careful about moving about at the same time as you're under firing a particular way, because the thing is, I mean, you can't fire while moving away. And already there, note Volksgrenadiers taking heavy losses. MG42 ready. Squad retreating. And Volksgrenadiers advancing again. Not sure why. And yeah, slight mistake here. Why is that? Because again, you take more damage and you're easier to hit while building. Of course, he realizes his mistake here and quickly retreats. MG42 though advances at the same time. Volksgrenadiers moving away again, taking a bit of damage. Quite nice targets. 2 riflemen though drop, in fact, and there we go. The MG42 opens up. Heavy machine gun fire wrecks the Americans. Might even suppress him, and in fact, he's running straight at the MG42. That's usually considered a bad idea unless you have grenades. In this case, he actually suffered quite some severe losses again at running straight at an MG42. Again, not necessarily the brightest of ideas in the great big book of tactics. Troops here needs to reinforce quickly and get moving again. Now laying down some sandbags. He's quite persistent. I mean, not a bad idea. In laying down sandbags can certainly create some strong positions where previously there were none, and thus give you the advantage. Because, I mean, if your opponent only has light cover to sort of rely on, and you have heavy cover, of course, I mean, you definitely have an advantage. Volksgrenadiers bring up a 3rd squad out. Looks like he's taking up then. Slightly more limited initial tier. Certainly slightly more aggressive, though, at the same time. From the opponent, though, we are seeing 3 riflemen and then Browning automatics. Also aggressive. So rather aggressive play by both novices. Mines going down here. Engineers moving in. Volksgrenadiers moving in here. Wonder what they are up to. And the MG42, ooh, again, not necessarily the best position again.
Our supply lines are being threatened.
I mean, you usually want to have sort of position so you can't easily get flanked, and sadly that's not quite the case here for Mrgroundelectro. In fact, his MG42 is already heavily damaged, and there we go. BAR's charging. He just needs to retreat. Retreat, Mrgroundelectro. Retreat. And it's too late. I mean, again, sometimes you have to sort of identify when, you know, to stand your ground, when to get the bloody hell out of there. When you have 3 rifle squads moving in and you don't have a strong position like that, get out of there. I mean, particularly when you can't have your MG42 lock it all down and you only have 1 full squad holding again. Retreat. He's just, in fact, going for the cutoff points right here. Interesting, but again, they also spread out. In particular, this is something he really should be avoiding now. When again, he's aware that his opponent has popped. His opponent has popped Browning automatics. Lots of manpower being floated there. Points being secured. A bit of harassment. MG42 now, of course, in the hands of the American, plus some sandbags, because again, he didn't even wire off this. Problems, but he's down to 2 Volksgunners and 2 Pioneer squads, and again he's spreading out the Volksgunners. He really wants to keep them together, and of course be aware to sort of quickly move out as soon as the American response force moves in. But again, going for the cutoff there, he's hoping to drain the American resources. That is definitely one way of doing it, and there we go, Volksgunner squad moving in, but Riven also moving in, and the Volksgunners out in the open. I mean, in this situation, just get out of there, man, just get out of there. Rückzug! Verlassen die Stellungen, but I mean, nice aggressive play by the Americans. Certainly, you know, knows how to flank, but again, retreat, Mrgroundelectro, retreat, and again, too late. And now, of course, he's trying to retreat the other one. No, he isn't. He's actually moving it about. Just press T or retreat. Don't move about, Mrgroundelectro. Again, and know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And again, when you're outgunned like this, retreat the bloody hell out of there. It looks like they might actually make it, which is a minor miracle. So far, no doctrine, though.
Germans are seizing territory from us.
Also, no mines there. That is good. Point being secured there. Another MG42 up from Mrgroundelectro, and looks like he's going for a Sturm Armory, interesting enough. So taking up pretty heavily, despite having, you know, rather heavy infantry loads. Of course, he might figure that he might have lost a lot of units and such, but of course, if we get an armored car, he might gain a minor and temporary advantage, and that could in fact work. In fact, though, he's actually holding quite a nice bit of territory, and of course, the harassment right here has been denying a bit of resources to KptBalu, in particular the fuel, since otherwise all he's been holding is munitions over there. That over there, if you want to get all technical. Still, Pioneers here though need to retreat again. Situations like these, and there we go. We actually do see some retreating, but again, aggressive play from both players. Supply it up. We might be seeing either a motor pool or a tank depot if this American is feeling really aggressive. MG42 moving up. Again, careful with sending that out first. Keep the infantry in front. Keep the support unit supporting the infantry. That's rather how they work. Volksgunners moving up. That is the way we like it. Although it's Riven moving up, MG42 not quite within range to support the Volksgunners now. Volksgunners pulling back again. Sturm Army lighting up, and a few mines here. That is good. Riven taking some minor casualties. Conrad died. He tripped on his shoelaces and tripped onto the mine. Engineers Riven moving up. Mines down there by KptBalu, at least attempting it. And also getting hit by the MG42, taking some nasty damage right there. Supply it up. Not much happening. And there we go again. Flanking about. Really great flanking. Of course, realizing we have something's here. Let's just move up on the flank. And again, Mrgroundelectro keeps fighting instead of realizing perhaps again this is the sort of fight where he should just get the devil out there. Now we do see a retreat, but again he might risk again losing an awful lot. There we go. That at the same time I might cut out. Did I hear another mine going off? Apparently I didn't. Volksgrenadiers, retreat. Again, a rather sad testament to the losses suffered. We are seeing stormtroopers now arriving. Riven getting blasted. Pioneer squad down. Nicely played right here by this chap with the 10th Armored.
This territory is Uncle Sam's.
Armored car advancing, being supported by stormtroopers. And what shall he do with them? Sticky bombs on the way, interesting enough. Careful with the armored car though, don't advance it in too far. It is not a tank, it is an armored car. MG42 moving up here versus another MG42, and this one is in fact forced away. The lesser one was forced away by the two German crewed one. Stormtroopers getting equipped with assault rifles, so it certainly fits in with the Panzer Brigades. Their Panzer Grenadiers were largely supposed to be equipped with assault rifles. Probably some would not all have been, but again, majority might have actually had that sort of thing there. And again, those had a lot of firepower. Rifle advancing up right through the MT42. Going to get stopped right there. Good. Volkskriegs nearby. Armored car. Stormtroopers could also move in. Quickly though. Schnell. MG42 at the same time exposed, but there we go. Rifle taking heavy losses. And the Stormtroopers moving in. Assault rifles tearing through them. MG42, Kar 98K. Lots of American wounded, screaming and writhing in pain. Absolutely horrific. Mines going down though. And tank depot going up. KptBalu heading for the bigger stuff. And of course the Panzer Brigades were again a rather interesting formation. Barely trained, which also resulted in some pretty high casualties, particularly amongst the armor, which pretty much ensured that they lost a lot of otherwise valuable Panthers rather quickly in some cases. Some did alright, but a bunch of them also did terribly. In particular, again, they were... Another problem was basically they were designed to fight the Soviets. More specifically, they were fight to sort of fight Soviet armored spearheads, not so much, you know, Americans. And again, there were some slight problems there as well. But again, some did alright. Mostly on the Eastern Front, though on the Western Front their successes were much more limited, and they were largely there a waste of good troops and armor. Stormtroopers coming under fire, armored car and will for assault rifle equipped Stormtroopers. We're seeing a blitz assault going in there, armored car though a bit exposed. Veterans up though, Kampfkraft center. Stormtroopers charging into there, Volkskriegs moving in from the other side. Stormtroopers might get suppressed by the MG42. Some are getting stunned by the rifle and the assault grenades. Heavy casualties again, advancing into an armor car and Stormtroopers and Volkskriegs, though the Volkskriegs might also consider retreating. Stormtroopers advancing, and some poor bastard died, probably the Pioneers, since he has absolutely no Pioneers now. Jolly good job, Mr. Mrgroundelectro. Stormtroopers also need to consider retreating. And a medic bunker or a medic station for the side would also, I think, be a large valuable benefit. But I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Rather than moving in from there, fresh Pioneers being trained. And he's taking up immediately. I mean, he's barely using these current here, yet he's already taking up. That's not necessarily the best idea. Rifle moving in, trying to get off a sticky bomb. Instead, getting blasted by the auto cannon. The armor car needs to get away instead, in case another horde arrives. And it looks like a rifleman squad actually died. A bit tragic right there for KptBalu and the 10th Armoured, but we will probably be seeing some armor very soon. Pioneers moving up to repair that armored car. And of course, I mean, in this case, Mr. Mrgroundelectro will be, well, rather unprepared. I mean, he has absolutely very little in the anti-tank department. All he has are Panzerfausts at the moment. Of course, he might have a slight chance if he upgrades his armored car to be a Puma, but that's probably not going to happen either. KptBalu, though, now holds the majority of the map again due to some rather poor unit preservation, slightly unfortunate tactics by Mr. Mrgroundelectro initially. In particular, not strong Volksgrenadier tactics. Now the Stormtrooper squad arriving. Assault rifles on the way. Of course, now that the tank destroyers arrived, he might, of course, consider otherwise. And there we go, Panzerschreck. Tank destroyer rolling in. Rifleman following up in the wake. Trying to get the armored car. Stormtrooper's almost ready. He can't even get the Panzer Commander anyways right away. So, of course, perhaps he might have wanted to use at least the Storm Army for first some... Oh, Pioneer squad again down. But again, at least initially a Stug. Rifleman forced away. Panzerschreck almost ready. Rifleman charging right at the Stormtroopers with assault rifles. I mean, usually you don't want to do that. I mean, note just how much damage they're taking and how quickly. They're just getting murdered. Main gun destroyed. Stomped. And a bundle grenade. Geballte Ladung. Rifleman almost down. BAR left behind. Armored car down. Tank destroyer could be going down as well. If they could just get off a pantry. And there we go. Some nasty losses for both sides. And the Americans just keep on pushing while the Wehrmacht is also slightly pushing. No, just for the Volksgrenadiers. More pioneers will be needed. Of course, he could salvage this and this. That would definitely give him some nice munitions boost. Storms moving out to deal with the engineers, and thank goodness he's using only against engineers, otherwise these could quickly go down. KptBalu though suffering a bit, although looks like he's training fresh riflemen. Might be seeing something slightly more heavily armoured from the tank depot. Storms again, he's actually quite interestingly harassing, and he's going for the vital points. That's not necessarily a bad idea, but again you might also want, you know, a backup plan, or at least something to cover the ones doing the harassment when you're dealing with all those riflemen with Browning automatics. Otherwise you might risk losing your stormtroopers, like you lost all those Volksgrenadiers and that MG42. Again, retreat. This is not a good situation to be in. Rückzug. Verlassen die Stellungen. Come on, just get the bloody hell out of there. Engineers run off. And the Sturmgeschütz arrived. It's a later version of the Panzer Brigade. Again, there were basically two versions, the 100 to 110. And then after that, there was another version, slightly less fantastically equipped, although I think actually slightly bigger at the same time, but with a larger variety of different equipment. Whereas the first one was sort of the best of the best of the best, except we won't train you to actually be able to use that properly sort of mentality. Rifleman again getting stopped by the MG42. No BAR picked up, but still Rifleman took some nasty losses. Sturmgeschütz rolling out. Sherman out for KptBalu. Volksgrenadiers again running into trouble on the western flank. And we are seeing an assault actually going in against KptBalu's men. And there we go, lots and lots and lots of grenades. Doing terrible things to the riflemen. Almost down. Could he kill this squad? Come on. Yes, and pick up the Browning automatic and turn against the Yankees. Sherman supporting the riflemen advancing. MG42 stormtroopers moving in to support that. Stormtroopers reinforcing. Good. Good. And regaining a bit of the map as well, which I suppose is wunderbar, but less so for KptBalu. Pushing onwards. Riflemen blasted. High explosive rounds tearing into them. And there we go, the Sherman are moving in. Riflemen outflanking this entire thing. Lovely. Good maneuver. Although, oh, suppressive volley as well. Excellent. Well, not suppressive volley, but suppressive fire. And the other storms are not there to help. And another tank destroyer out. 10th Armored holding out. Another Panzerwreck, and the Stug is forced away. Stormtroopers need to support it. Move up and support the Stug. Again, remember, it's not a tank. It needs infantry support. Should be the best it can be. Lots of reinforcement needed there. Again, pick up the BAR. Come on, Mrgroundelectro. Seize the Browning. Turn it against the Yankees. And kill them. Floating resources, again, not necessarily the most ideal situation. Tank destroyer rolling out. Riflemen retreating, having done their job. Probably has to hold fire on them just to do scouting. That is a good idea. A very good idea, in fact. So they don't spoil everything by shooting madly at the Americans. That has a tendency of ruining scouting as such. And oh, blimey, that was close.
We have 300 points left.
Tanks are rolling in, connecting with the Panzerwreck. Stug could move in. MG42 setting up, not necessarily the best position. Stormtroopers moving out in the open again. Careful, careful. Stormtroopers, the other squad moving in. Could get off. No, they can't. Not enough munitions. So roll a pretty bad move right there by the German commander. And again, Volksgrenadiers is caught, and again retreating way too late. Again, not good. Not good at all.
Americans are
He's not even got any veterancy for his infantry.
Jawohl, Mynheer.
Panzer command up. MG42 setting down, and let's return to KptBalu. Let's just speed this up a wee bit. Going to be a bit longer fight, and not really much happening. No, oh, he's floating 1,000 manpower again. Not really good at all. Again, usually you want to spend resources then on something else. Of course, you might want more armor, which is fair enough. But also, here's a fun mistake. You know, just charging in one stormtrooper squad on its own. And of course, moving out into the open. Note, high close around, and 50 caliber going to finish it off. And leave behind the Panzerschreck again. Don't do that. Bit of veterancy, but that's nice. But again, you know, don't charge in stormtroopers like that on their own. I mean, coordinate the assault with something a bit more, you know. So it's, you know, just because again, a Sherman is quite capable of dealing with infantry, in particular when they're not out in the open.
Regiment
Rather vital bit.
Time to kill some Krauts.
Stormtroopers could try and secure this point, or they could just continue having a break. Rangers now arriving for
Need something?
KptBalu and another Sherman. So bazookas and high explosive rounds. Mine going off again. Lovely mining by KptBalu. We certainly can't fault him that. Although we could also consider mining here. Here, there's plenty of places you can mine. He's also got the munitions for it. Stormtroopers finally secure this rather than moving in on their own. And again, another mine. Sweeping with your feet is not necessarily the best way of dealing with mines. And Stormtroopers charging at the riflemen. Who shall win this? Well, it might not be so great for the Stormtroopers as they're closing in, but ooh, looks like they manage it. No, suppressive fire. How will this turn out? And there we go, pinned down and forced away. How horrific. Mines going down there, but Rangers moving up, equipped with the Thompson submachine gun. An excellent yet expensive to make submachine gun, and they rather tried replacing it with a grease gun, but that was just a rubbish submachine gun in comparison with most others, in fact. Mine goes off, not killing anyone, but wounding. Rifleman stopped there by a mine, and the Stug. Again, much too spread out. I mean, considering how much his defenses are spread out, I mean, also note KptBalu is way too passive. He could be pushing on, but again, he's not. And I mean, if he was to be even slightly more aggressive, again, he could probably knock off Mrgroundelectro and the 111th Panzer Brigade. But it's not happening. I mean, he's holding a large amount of territory with practically nothing except prayers. Panther though arrives, and I suppose in that sense it's actually rather accurate, because again in several cases the Americans wouldn't attack, despite, you know, on the other side the Germans weren't really in a condition to hold back any assaults. That wasn't particularly in the case in Normandy for a longer period of time, until Operation Cobra actually attacked and they sort of realized, oh wait, there's not actually a lot of Krauts waiting for us. Panther moves in, first in, hits a mine. Stug moves up to support, that's more good, but why is he not supporting with the rest of the infantry? He's sending in a tank and an assault gun in his own and getting sticky bombed. I mean, come on. And of course, using again his troops to sweep, not necessarily again the sort of thing. They're stormtroopers, not Soviet penal troops. Bunker going up there, probably going to... He's going to lay down a... Well, basically a Widerstandniste. Basically a defensive line. The Siegfried line, or whatever you'd call it. Tank just for taking a lot of damage despite veterans who won. Rifleman advancing with the sticky bombs. German and tank destroyer moving in. Panther taking a lot of damage. And again, no support, not even something to deal with the infantry a bit more successfully. Tank destroyer out of control. Immobilized Panther. And there we go. Sherman actually penetrates, and a sticky bomb. And there we go. Veterancy free for the rifleman as well. Stu could try and hunt down the Sherman. Come on, get it. Oh, no luck. Another tank destroyer on the way. 2 Shermans. One tank destroyer down. Of course, he could consider upgunning his Germans. Sort of help them against enemy armor. Would definitely give them the advantage against the Stooks. And, oh, Sherman went down. Instead going in. And perhaps if he had upgunned it, he might have won this completely. Again, upgunning your Shermans is in fact important if you want to take on German tanks. They're still not going to be as great, overall at dealing with tanks as tank destroyers, but they're definitely going to be a lot more effective than otherwise. Minesweepers moving up. MG42 still not really providing an awful lot of cover.
Our supply lines
Again, not really a good position right there. Something to cover there. Engineers hiding. Tank destroyer rolling in. Sherman far removed. Overall, though, still holding most of the map. Stormtroopers, again, should have been supporting there. Instead, he lost a Panther. More Panthers on the way. Could probably be another Panther, considering, again, his is a novice fight. And again, the novices do love their Panthers. I mean, there's nothing wrong in a Panther, but there's a time for the Panther, there's time for the Panzer IV, and there's a time for an Ostwind. Usually, most of the time, you usually want just a Panzer IV. Again, I mean, the Panther's definitely done alright. Oh, Raven here getting stunned. Stormtroopers tearing through the assault rifles, and these are veteran-free riflemen. Oh, dear. Taking some nasty losses. Stuke getting repaired. That is good. Pioneers could be moving out. Americans advancing a bit slowly again. I mean, there's a certain lack of tempo, lack of aggression behind KptBalu. And there we go. Another Panther rolls out. And Rangers charge in at the Sturmgeschütz. And again, where's the support? Nowhere. And these Pioneers also need to consider getting out of there. Pulling back to the MG bunker. Panther moving out, but with not much support. MG42 going to get flanked by the Stormtroopers by the looks of it. But again, sending in a Panther on your own. Less than the brightest of ideas. And ooh, bun grenade too late. Tank destroyer no, that's a Panther actually rolling out, exposing its rear to all the nasties here. Of course. And again, not an awful lot of support. Sherman rolling out. Rangers, more Rangers in fact being called in again. He's floating an awful lot of manpower. Don't do that. Also consider getting some supplied upgrades, because again, you're actually getting drained a bit right there. And don't move in a Panther closer to riflemen who you know have sticky bombs. In particular, when you also know they're veteran-free, damaged engine, nasty. Tank destroyer moving up on the flank. No reason to have these cloaked. Pick up the Browning automatic. Oh, wait, there's already one. Tank destroyer, they're going to quickly go down again. Tank destroyers are not tanks. You usually want them after the tanks. And there we go. And that's the thing that should have gone in first, in particular if it had managed to get the upgun. But again, that's not happening. Tank destroyer down. Suddenly the Panthers in a much greater and more advantageous position. Veterans 2 also helps a bit against the infantry, though not an awful lot. Browning automatic picked up. Stormtroopers moving up here, although heavily damaged. Sherman definitely not in a good condition to fight the Panther, and so breaks off, leaving the veteran 3 riflemen to continue the hunt for the Panzerkampfwagen 5. Getting blasted with machine gun fire and with high explosive rounds. 2 Stormtroopers moving in. I think that might be a less than great idea. And what are you going to do with this minesweeper? I mean, bat them in the head, just get out of there. Stormtroopers retreating. Looks like they actually managed to get out of there. What bloody luck. Right, continue advancing. They do take a bit of damage from machine guns mounted. I mean, that's 3 machine guns in particular. Although the one mounted right there on the top, of course, they could. One meant for aircraft is actually the one that actually do any of the damage. But still, alright. And there we go, rifle retreating. Stug moving up there. And a Tiger arrives as well. More Shermans. Still no upgunning for them. Still a lot of manpower being floated. Stug moving in to deal with the Rangers. So far, not much luck. But there he goes, oppressing the bastards. And there's a return to Mrgroundelectro. Now the slightly more advantageous armor situation again due to the fact that KptBalu simply gave him the time to do so. He was simply too passive and again didn't really take the sort of necessary measures like, you know, outgunning your Shermans. Rangers getting blasted, right? Rangers are moving up to flank the MG42. And the Sherman moves up. Tiger, of course, also on the spot. Sherman quickly realizes it's time to get out of there. Tiger advances alongside the Stug. Sherman desperately backs out of there, but the Tiger does not relent. It has tasted the blood of the Yankee Panzer and it wants to slay it. Rangers, though, swarming forth in a vast wave with rifleman support. Bazookas fly, but they simply cannot penetrate. They could only penetrate 60mm of armor, which basically meant they couldn't even penetrate the front of a Panzer IV. And a Panther getting repaired, moving up slowly. And just a huge wave of infantry. Other troops moving up from the flank. Rangers getting crushed. Oh dear. The old put candy in the tricks of the Tiger and hope the enemy runs into its trick. Needs to retreat again, you know, attacking over ground against tanks like that many with machine guns and all that tends to be a slightly bad idea. Stormtroopers arriving, sending away the Stormtroopers. MG42 though doing some nasty things, and a Sherman fires off one good shot. Stormtroopers need to retreat, Rückzug. And of course Mrgroundelectro needs to begin securing victory points a bit, or at least consider doing so. But he has managed to stabilize, he has managed to break the Yankee armored back, or perhaps not. Looks like KptBalu is lining up for one hell of a charge, but of course the question is, will he be outgunning his Shermans? Will he be able to provide the necessary firepower to take on such a vicious combination from the Panzer Brigade, although they've already certainly lost a bit. Let's just speed this up, because clearly again he's going to be building up his forces. Rifleman again, nice use again of suppressive fire from his rifleman. Though the Tiger arrives and messes things up. Panther and Stug now a bit more on their own. Ooh, this could work out nicely, but again, no upgun on the Sherman. Again, waving up the Rangers. He should have flanked them in. Again, you know, flanking. Continue. Don't line up in front of the Panther. Outflank it, and keep that tank destroyer moving. Again, do not stop up. Do not stop up. Keep moving. Keep moving. If you stop up in front of the Wehrmacht commander, he's usually, you know, having a much better chance. And there we go. One Sherman down again. They are now sitting ducks in the middle of everything. Stormtroopers. Tiger on the flank. And there we go. He's finally moving. His tank destroyers haven't really moved in either. I mean, for the larger part of this fight, again, the tank destroyers did nothing. They could have, you know, at least knocked out the Stug much faster and perhaps even helped against the Panther, but again, it did not happen. Awful tank tactics. I mean, the idea was alright, but the timing was bad. Instead, now, of course, he's lost one Sherman, another one's going to go down, and he's himself getting flanked by the Tiger. His retreat path is cut off, so he's caught between a Panther and a Tiger. I mean, that is... And there we go, Blitzkrieg assault, increasing the rate of fire. Destroyed engine. Oh, the inhumanity. Of course, also increases the speed, and there we go. M10 Wolverine out of control, though he's getting more. And the Rangers so far haven't really managed to do much, because again, they're being employed in a way that, well, rather gets them suppressed and gunned down in a nasty, nasty manner. Machine gun placement, finding itself under some rather intense fire. Storm and artillery going in. Stormtrooper suppressed. A few Rangers getting blasted. Gunner killed on the Panther. And don't move your men into the artillery! Don't move your men into your own artillery! Oh, no. That is usually what you consider a bad idea. Stormtroopers might go down. Panthers don't keep advancing. The Panther keeps firing. Gets off a nice hit. Stormtroopers bring up on the flank. And that is the end of that assault. Rather limited. Victory points being secured. More tank destroyers. Well, all quiet. Things lining up. Oh, a few pioneers still doing his best to protect the victory points. Not bad.
We are losing territory.
Securing right there. All a bit quiet again. Let's just speed up. And there we go. Tank destroyers rolling forwards. MG42 still firing. I mean, it's actually veterans you want. That's quite nice. If you're the American, that is. Panzer IV ready. Fun for everyone. Repair bunker going up. Rangers again advancing forwards in a much larger force over the hill, lads. Oh, men. You're American, so I don't suppose you say lads. Getting blasted though. Already one bazooka dropped. Tank destroyers rolling forwards. And of course, they've completely forgotten about the Panther on the flank. Just focus on one thing, but no, again the assault stalls. Partly due to the fact there's a Panzer IV arriving. One tank destroyer already down. Tiger exposes its rear, just plaster it with bazooka rockets. Oh dear, looks like the Tiger might get away. Just stop and shoot, shoot. Oh dear, now it's too late. They just managed to turn the front again. And the Rangers are caught between a Panzer IV and a Tiger. Rangers are just getting murdered left and right. Pandemonium and a slaughter. These Rangers also need to retreat. So close, but again, a few tragic mistakes here. There, and more on the way. But again, I mean, when you're fighting the Panthers, you actually need to know, not fight them like yourself, Panthers yourself. You have to remember your armor is not going to be sort of winning in the one-on-one engagement, unless, of course, again, you're dealing with Stooks and your Germans are outgunned. Otherwise, again, it's maneuver, it's about overwhelming and taking them up one at a time. And, of course, it's about keeping up things while moving. Otherwise, you do risk some rather nasty and unpleasant things. Let's go look at KptBalu again. Again, now rather heavy losses. Still no supply upgrades. Still no medic station, which again in the longer run could have helped him a bit, I think. Still holding on to 2 victory points, but now more stormtroopers arriving. The Panzer Brigade keeps fighting against the 10th and is slowly winning, although taking some rather nasty casualties in the process. Panzer's holding out here, near the repair bunker. Looks like KptBalu has decided to make his stand right here by the central victory point. Rangers again getting up too close. Stormtroopers, note, I mean, thing is, Rangers have something called elite armor. Most small arms weapons take a penalty against them in terms of damage. Assault rifles do not. So in this case, the Rangers are actually going to lose to the Stormtroopers, in particular now that veterancy free. My goodness. Panther moves in, takes a bit of damage from a mine. Good mining again.
Germans are seizing territory from us.
Another tank destroyer on the way. No attempt at perhaps using an off-map combat group to save the day. That could perhaps, supply him with a bit more than numbers to sort of finally overcomes the Germans, but again, now it might be a bit too late to overcome the wicked Wehrmacht. Lots of mines going off there again. Nice job. Lovely mining, sneaking up here again. Might be he's going for a victory point victory.
Front shifting. Krauts are grabbing territory from us.
And Panzer IV arriving to deal with the Rangers right there. Nice. And a wondrous job. Tiger also moving out. Almost fully repaired.
Germans are seizing territory from us.
Just give the order.
But I mean, we're seeing actually some. I mean, yes, they're novices, but at the same time, they both show promise. I mean, we're seeing aggression from both of the players, but again, the problem is when shove comes to push. Or is it the other way around? Whatever case, I mean, KptBalu just doesn't quite have one to sort of really keep, hammering away to sort of, keep up the pace. He sort of loses things and then sort of slowly stops up, making him a much bigger target. That's sort of his main problem. Otherwise, I mean, he's actually got a good chance of being a pretty good American commander, although again, he probably shouldn't. Again, also blob up, again, blobbing up is bad. Artillery going in on the Stormtrooper concentration. Panther getting outmaneuvered. And again, note, veterans free does nothing against, and all veterans do for that matter, does nothing to protect against tank destroyers. They're going to be dealing with it as easily as a veterancy 1 Panther. Veterancy 2 and veterancy 3 for a Panther, for example, again, it's all about the infantry. Versus armor versus tank destroyers, it does nothing, in particular when there's also Rangers. Although again, the armor gets protect against the bazookas, but not against the tank destroyer. And there we go, almost down. And we are seeing Blitzkrieg going in, hoping to save the day. But the Panther is down.
We're losing ground out there.
And, oh, immobilized by a mine. And GG. And GG. In fact, let's just stop there. It goes on for a bit more, but there's nothing sensible there. And usually, again, well, when you say GG, you usually mean it. It's a bit rude, Continue otherwise. And there's, of course, you actually point out you do have changed your mind. You sort of feel, oh, wait, there's still a chance. But again, otherwise, you don't say GG. Which rather seems to have been the slight problem here. Anyways, game over. And of course, what were the problems for KptBalu that rather persisted? I mean, again, it was sort of a lack of medic stations, a bit too fond of blobbing up right in front of the MG42s, which is a bit weird because early on he was great at flanking, great at hitting from all sides, which was rather effective in getting out that first MG42. But later on, that sort of faltered with the Rangers, where he sort of became a bit more of a Soviet, charge in, men. And, again, his armor tactics, he should have outgunned those Shermans, and again, the one here, he should have been moving on those tanks in conjunction with the Shermans again, should have been outgunned. Then he might actually been able to win it, but also finally, there were just times when he should have been pushing, when he was just sitting about twiddling his thumbs. Again, as an American, it's important, push, keep up the tempo. There were several times when if he just pushed a bit more, he might pretty much easily have won this. On the other hand, of course, the Wehrmacht player, by dint of that, was able to sort of overcome this with some armor. But of course also the Stormtroopers, mixing up anti-infantry and anti-tank, which is good. Mines, again, less good. Veterancy, good. Could have used the medic bunker, same applies to the American, of course, from the next station. But again, his unit preservation, particularly early on, terrible. Full-scale tactics, he needs to work on them. They should work to support each other, but also more importantly, know when to retreat and know when to fight. That was really his main challenge. He really several times just stood his ground when he should have retreated, losing a lot of men needlessly without doing any damage. And of course, he also needs to work on picking up enemy weapons, which was also a bit of a problem for him. There were several times we could have picked up a BAR, but sadly that did not happen. There you go. Do hope you learned something from this game. I also hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends, and if you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own. This is Bill Dane saying cheers.